piracy in Western Africa, particularly Gulf of Guinea, is something different from what we have seen in the Indian Ocean off coast of Somalia. We need to apply new strategy. We appreciate very much very positive, proactive approach by Western African countries, which adopted at Yaoundé the new code of conduct. We are at IMO trying to support activities of African countries. And in order to do that, I have established IMO's trust fund to support Western African countries. And I will make use of the very precious donation already provided by China, United Kingdom, and Japan. And we have already established a general framework and strategy to support African countries. The key issue is we will maintain a good cooperation with African nations through the consultations, and we will support every activities of African nations to reduce the activities of illicit activities of piracy as well as armed robbery. The United Nations Convention, UNCLOS, has clearly provided definition of piracy, and the concept of piracy and armed robbery is clearly established. I don't think that is useful if we try to combine the two concepts in one, or expanding the concept of piracy to cover armed robbery within the context of UNCLOS. The important point is we will take action, and response to immediate response should be established to a daily incident through the cooperation and activities of the countries involved. Djibouti Code of Conduct and the activities in the off coast of Somalia is a very good example, and we will look into effective implementation of anti-piracy measures in western coast of Africa. In my view, the changing the concept of piracy within the context of UNCLOS will not yield expected results. You have raised a very important issue of IMO's effort to reduce air pollution, particularly from marine engine. And as you know, IMO has established NOx technical code, and we have decided to progressively increase the level of control. And a Tier 3 requirement was already adopted to be implemented within the emission control areas from the beginning of 2016. You have raised the issue that MEPC has debated this matter, but the result of MEPC discussion was we decided to stick to the plan. The new requirement for Tier 3 will be implemented as scheduled from the 1st of January 2016. For already established emission control areas. And however, for the future emission control areas, then application date will be from the date on which the emission control area will be established. So therefore, that is a sensible decision of Maritime Marine Environment Protection Committee to stick to the already established goals. The IMO is a global regulation setter, and once we have established a goal, and I think we should stick to that goal. Now, when it comes to the future possibility of emission control areas for NOx technical code in Baltic Seas, that is what you have raised. This is an element which the member government should discuss further. Now, so far, we haven't received any clear-cut proposals, but I'm sure each member government involved in the Baltic Seas will seriously consider the importance of emission control, but at the same time, the impact to be placed on the shipping industry. And IMO will debate when we have received the proposal for establishment of new emission control areas, which may include Baltic Seas, or also which may include any other future areas. Ballast Water Management Convention is a very important IMO instrument. The shipping industry is expanding over the years. Within 20 years, the capacity will be doubled. This is a trend of expansion. So therefore, controlling alien invasive species put through the ballast water is very important issues. And the shipping industry must implement measures to control ballast water. And we have spent 10 years to establish Ballast Water Management Convention in 2004. And my view is we should move into implementation phase of Ballast Water Management Convention. And you have mentioned that 35% is a threshold value for the tonnage required for signatory members of Ballast Water Management Convention. At this stage, the accumulated the tonnage is just over 30%. So we need additional 5% to come into force. According to the information which I gathered very recently, I have received very positive information from a number of IMO member governments. For example, Japan passed a very important legislation already. So therefore, Japan may submit and provide instrument of ratification before the end of this year. And the same apply to Turkey. And also, the last week, I touched upon very encouraging news from Argentina. And I understand your country, Italy, is making progress. So if you add up the tonnage of those four countries, Japan, Turkey, Italy, and Argentina, the accumulated number will reach, according to my calculation, 34.2%. So we are getting closer and closer to the threshold value. So I am optimistic that a condition for entering into force of Ballast Water Management Convention will be met before the end of this year, so that we will implement as planned the Ballast Water Management Convention from the beginning of 2016. The reason why I am encouraging member government is that Ballast Water Management Convention is very important for shipping industry. And at the same time, we understand current available technology is good enough. It will not be 100% perfect. However, we need to move into implementation of measures, knowing that we have already achieved innovations and the currently available best technical requirement must be implemented. Those are the basis on which I am encouraging member governments. And I'm sure the Ballast Water Management Convention will be implemented from the 2016. my view is not necessarily the industry is objecting to move into implementation. Yes, the industry needs investment, so therefore it is important to establish general understanding how the Ballast Water Management Convention will be implemented in view of, for example, the control over the sampling, and which may affect the already installed equipment. But MEPC in October session this year will intensively discuss this matter, and I hope MEPC will establish a good sort of understanding and measures of IMO. And once IMO established good measures, I think member government will implement those measures. So therefore, in my view, the concern raised by industry will be alleviated. And I'm sure that IMO will establish a good way forward for the implementation of Ballast Water Management Convention. This issue of large number of migrants passing through Mediterranean waters over a small vessel, sometimes hundreds of the people are trying to pass through the Mediterranean water. This is serious issues. And IMO, as a United Nations agency responsible for the shipping industry, they cannot cover all aspects of these huge issues. But the United Nations should take an action, and IMO is part of it. And IMO has already established a good framework on the persons rescued at sea in the rescue side. But in my view, for example, Italian Coast Guard has stretched its capacity already. And the shipping industry is also involved to help these issues. And in my view, IMO has established really good mechanism for rescuing those people over the small craft without any safety standard. And this is going beyond the limit of IMO. But the United Nations must take an action. As a member of the United Nations system, IMO will continue to support the activities of the United Nations, and also I think that requires coordination and also support from European countries. I am considering to strengthen IMO's secretariat function in order to support the activities of the United Nations and interagency coordination mechanism. Well, human element is always important to avoid accident. You mentioned about recent casualties, including Costa Concordia. It is utmost important that industry will ensure the safety culture will be implemented. And then in that context, education, training is very important issues. You mentioned that IMO Council approved my proposal for the theme of next year, the next year's World Maritime Day, being maritime education and training, including raising the safety culture through the operators and management. I'm really looking forward to the program for next year. Well, it's a good question, but I'm not sure whether I'm right person to make any comment. But I know that maritime industry will generate a lot of opportunities for Italian people to engage in maritime business. And for example, Napoli, it cannot be sustained for the future. And I'm sure that the people in the maritime industry, in Napoli particularly, will really look into the future to promote maritime industry. I'm really looking forward to further exploration of maritime activities by the people in this area, Napoli.